So today we're going to be going over advanced tips for every single survivor in Evil Dead the game, and then some basic tips kind of sprinkled throughout. I've got everyone to level 25, so I've got an extensive amount of time on each character. I love playing all of them, mostly, but we'll get into that as the video goes on. So let's hop right into the very first one, which is Leader Ash. And I'm kind of going to give a basic tip here kind of for Leader Ash and Annie, is that they pair very, very well together. Leader Ash's ability that lets him generate an explosion every 30 seconds that damages the balance bar. It doesn't say how much damage it actually does, but it's around 60 to 70% of a possessed unit's balance bar, which is really the only time that you're going to be using his ability. You don't want to be using this when you just have like 3 or 4 enemies around you and you just want to do some balance bar damage, because then it'll actually deplete the entire balance bar of them. You're really only using this on possessed units, because that's the only time that you're really in peril and you need to use something to help yourself. You shouldn't really have any trouble taking out just normal AI units. But this going really, really well with Annie's ability, or not really her ability, but her passives at level 10 and 25, is that she does 25% more balance bar damage, and all of your teammates around you do 25% balance bar damage to basic units, which is mostly what you're dealing with in this game at the current meta, and then 25% to elites, and then 100% to bosses. So really my kind of basic tip is to just maybe pair Leader Ash and Annie together. I know that kind of sounds counterintuitive to have 2 leaders, but it does really work. I've played against Leader Ash's and Annie's as a demon, and they've completely destroyed me. You'll still win in the end, but they're really, really annoying to go against right out the gate at level 1, because he already has his ability, she has her passives, and it's really, really hard when you're a low level demon, like starting out the match, and you don't really get good until you can get to the very end. Especially with having like the boss maxed out, and then the boss can't be stunned once their balance bar damage is gone. That's really nice. But my advanced tip for him is really kind of counterintuitive to his kit. Is that he starts with a sledgehammer, and your ability, you know, your level 25 ability lets you it increases your aura effects by 100% when you dismember things. I'm going to actually recommend try the sledgehammer. Try out the sledgehammer. Using the sledgehammer with him, despite having a chainsaw in the beginning, is really, really nice. Even though you can't really dismember with a chainsaw, you can still do finishers with it, but coupled that with his ability, you're destroying balance bar. Now on to Annie. Her advanced tip that I'm going to give for her is that use her ability more often. I see this way too often on Annie players where they just need to kill things and they use the ability, which is fine if you're in a pinch and maybe know that the demon has like maybe possessed 2 units back to back and is probably out of infernal energy and has to go find some more, then that's probably fine. But because her ability lasts for 15 seconds and only has a 45-second cooldown, which is actually a pretty short cooldown compared to everyone else's in this game, they seem to be increasing cooldowns when they find something is overpowered. Hers actually is a quite short cooldown. You can use this multiple times during an objective. You know, the average objective, if you have like 4 people on it, lasts about 2.5 minutes. You could pop her ability 2 or even 3 times, depending on how many people are on the objective, maybe even 4 times. While you're on one objective. Feel free to use her ability often. Every time that something is possessed, pop her ability. It's going to be back again in 45 seconds, and during those 15 seconds you're going to rack up a bunch of damage. Your teammates are going to rack up a bunch of damage. I would say that probably her basic tip would be don't play her. This is really for the new players. Don't play her unless you have at least one hunter on the team. If you've got like an Annie and then you have a Warrior Ash, a Henry, and then like a Cheryl, she's fine because she still does an extra 25% damage with ranged weapons, but she really only shines if you have at least one hunter. I see a lot of people pick Annie because they just want to play Annie. If you're going to be a leader, kind of wait to see what everyone picks and then pick your leader based off of everyone else. Now we've got Lord Arthur. The only real tip I've got for Lord Arthur is really just to figure out how to chain his ability. At level 25, you can make Lord's Wrath basically pause the timer when you do a finisher on an enemy. And during objectives, God forbid if you actually put some points into fast forward and reduce the duration of objective events, which really I've already done the math for and I need to make a video on. This doesn't really help as much as you think it would. If you maybe had like multiple people that had this ability, then it might be worth it. Like maybe if you had like your leader and your support both have this ability, it could be worth it in some scenarios, but for the most part, it's not. But I need to make a video specifying how much time this actually takes. But I'll just just tell you right now, it's not that much. So really my advanced tip for Lord Arthur is just to is to figure out how to just spam those Fs, but only spam the Fs if you're going to be doing a finisher, because the entire 15 seconds that Lord's Wrath is active, you can actually keep it going the entire time of an objective if you just have units to kill. If you go around and just constantly keep swinging your sword and hitting F, let's hope that you have like a blue, maybe even a purple sword. You can hit them one time, hit F, and then they're dead. The only time that this is actually kind of hard to do is if you're going against a puppeteer, because the puppeteer's basic units are so weak that a lot of them are going to die just from you swinging your sword once with a light attack. All right, next up we've got Warrior Ash. We're in the Warrior category now. I would say just for the beginners, his basic tip that I would give would be to feel free to drink his potion if you need health or to reduce your fear. It's not that much of a fear reduction, it's not that much of a health restoration, but it is something. If you feel like that maybe you've got like a golden chainsaw and you're about to get possessed and you've got teammates all around you, and you don't really need the health, but you really feel like if you're going to get possessed, you're going to wipe your team, and maybe you don't have any hunters on your team to like shoot you. You're running, maybe for some reason you're running like 2 warriors and a leader and a support, and like, people aren't really using ranged weapons that much. I would say pop his ability just for the fear reduction, once you're starting out. I wouldn't say that would be an advanced tip later on in the game, but at the beginning, when you don't know as much as what you're doing, feel free to do it, because you never know, the demon could possess you and just kill your whole team. My advanced tip for him would be actually to spec into his skill tree into one-handed sharp weapons. Put points into dismemberments of melee weapons, dismemberment of sharp weapons, damage dealt with one-handed melee weapons. It's a game changer, because what you don't want to do with him is that you don't want to use weapons that will kill everything in one hit, especially against Puppeteer, because these units are so weak and you do so much melee damage, you're going to be one-hitting everything. That is kind of what you want. Like more of an advanced tip, which I guess would be maybe like an expert tip, would be that your role is to pretty much try to one-shot everything. It's not to spam finishers to give yourself more shield. It's more of to take care of all the basic units when you're doing objectives. But I would say that if you can get a chainsaw, which does count as a one-handed sharp weapon, then you, other than the Puppeteer, you should be hitting everything once, like Necromancer and Warlords, and then you just hit F or whatever, or click the right thumbstick on console, and you should be able to spam finishers as much as you want. All right, Scottie. You guys know how I feel about Scottie. I would say his basic tip that I'm going to say is just to invest very simply into his heavy attack perk. He specializes in doing heavy attacks. He does them faster when you have his lumberjack axe, and when you do heavy attacks, it hurts the enemies around you, as well as, pretty much probably killing the one that you're attacking. I would say just invest into his melee attack. I would say, start speccing into the stuff that you want to spec into, but then when you can, go into the heavy attack here, because you're pretty much almost only going to be using heavy attacks with Scottie, and it's really the only warrior character that you're going to spam heavy attacks with. My advanced tip with Scottie is to not use his ability as a reaction. I see a lot of people see like something gets possessed, they pop their ability, and now they're stuck in this animation where they get hit 2 or 3 times, and there's nothing they can do about it. I would use his ability more of a using your heavy attacks to weaken everything around you, kill, 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 and then when you see there's a bunch of weak units, use this to kill everything. It does only have a 30-second cooldown, so if you want to maybe use it to kind of stun everything, and then attack, 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 and then use another one to kill and kind of rotate between the two, you can. I found that works, but really it's up to you. Now on to Henry. I'm going to tell you guys his advanced tip is really going to be a counter tip to Demon. Everyone knows, I'm not going to say like, oh, use your ability to revive people. Everyone knows that. That's even too basic of a basic tip. I'm going to just go right to an advanced tip and say, if you are playing Henry and you do pop his ability to revive somebody or to save someone's soul, know that you can still get interrupted. If Elagos grabs you, if the Necromancer boss, Evil Ash, goes to choke you, or if Henrietta goes to grab you to suckle on her titties, then you can still get interrupted. Don't think that you're completely invulnerable. So my advanced tip for Henry is actually, if you are going to use his ability to revive somebody, make sure there isn't a boss already active. And if there is one, be very, very careful, because if they know what they're doing, they can stop you from the revive. All right, my favorite category of survivors, hunters, and we're going to start with Hash, or Hunter Ash, from Evil Dead 2. My very first basic tip is going to be, for you beginner players, please read what his ability does. A ton. I mean, I'm still seeing, I just saw it yesterday, I'm still seeing it every single day. People are picking this guy, they're getting him to 25, and they still don't know how to use his ability. It exorcises the demon from a possessed unit only if it is a basic unit or if it is a possessed survivor. It does not depossess elite units or bosses. That would be way overpowered. I was playing a game yesterday and someone tried to use it on the boss, and then he was confused why the boss was still moving around. And I went on my microphone and I said, because it doesn't exercise the boss. That would be way too overpowered to, the boss has like a 2-minute cooldown before they can use the boss again. You've only got a 90-second cooldown. You would be able to just save your ability and kill the boss instantly if that were the case. There's no way that would be built into the game. So please just read what his ability it does. My advanced tip for him would be actually to change his skills around. This is the only hunter out of all 4 hunters where I actually take these top 2 abilities, because you're going to be using his shotgun pretty much the entire match. You're not really going to change this out for anything because you get a 20% increase as opposed to the warriors get only a 5% increase to their weapons. Yours is substantial enough to where even if you find like a blue something else, like a blunderbuss, you're probably still gonna take your white double barrel shotgun just because it increases the damage by 20%. So I would say with him, I really do like to increase the range since it doesn't have a ton. And then I'd like to reduce the spread rather than going underneath here and reducing the recoil. I like reducing the spread because you're pretty much going to be using a shotgun the entire game. With Ed Getley, my tied for first most played survivor along with Kelly, Ed Getley, I will say an advanced tip for him would be to know when to use his ability. Now that it got nerfed down to 90 seconds rather than 60, you do have to use it a bit more sparingly. I'm noticing that when I go to use the ability and I want to like go into a building that I'm pretty sure the demon has traps set up in, but we're also about to go do an objective as soon as we're done looting this house, I'm noticing that I shouldn't be using the ability. It is really, really hard to, well, that's kind of, I guess, perspective. It really depends. It really depends. I suppose if you see traps in the building that you're going into and you know it's trapped, probably do use your ability and then try to very quickly loot and then run over to the objective if you're close enough I would say if you see traps and you're very close to your objective, maybe don't even go in the house. Unless like everyone's out of colas, out of amulets, and out of ammo, and you need to loot this place, then maybe don't even go inside the building. Because using his ability at the objectives is a game changer. Being able to pretty much almost every objective has a tree that the demon can possess or set traps at, and if they're smart, they'll set traps and possess them, because you can stack those if you guys didn't know. Then being able to disable all of the traps around an objective is very, very useful. And I'm finding myself using his ability when I'm going into houses to disable traps, and then when I get to the objective I have to wait like another 30-40 seconds before the ability is ready. And by then, the demon has definitely already set every trap that he can in the area. So you have to just hope and pray that your teammates see the traps and don't walk into them until your ability is ready. So with his advanced tip, I would say save your ability for the objectives. But again, it depends on how far you are from them. You know, if it's 400 meters away and you want to loot a house, you probably have enough time to turn on your flashlight, disable all the traps in the house, loot it, and then get over to the objective, and your ability will be ready in, 10-15 seconds by then. Kelly, my S-tiered hunter. With Kelly, I'm going to say that her advanced tip is to use her ability offensive and defensively. And what I mean by that is that, activating her ability lets you, most people think of it as when you activate it, now you can dodge without using any stamina. But how you should think of it as, it's a half and half. It does two different things. It makes it to where you cause bleed damage, or you can dodge without using stamina, and I'll use it for either or scenario. So when a boss comes up, I will pop the ability and then I will shoot the target constantly to cause non-stop bleed damage and do extra damage. However, what I will say is that you should only use this ability defensively once you've exhausted all of your stamina, which is very, 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 very rare. The only time I would say that you should pop this ability is when you've used up all 5 of your dodges and then the demon is still coming after you. Maybe they're puke canceling and it's really, really hard to get away from them. They swipe at you 4 times, they puke, they cancel out of it, they swipe at you another 4 times. It's really, really hard to do that. I would say that is the time to pop this ability. However, keep in mind, if they do puke on you and then you try to pop your ability, you still can't dodge. It doesn't override their ability to negate your dodge. So that is when I would use it defensively. Amanda. So Amanda, she does get a nice little advanced tip here, despite her probably being my least favorite one to play. I actually haven't played Amanda since I got her to 25. Just because, in my opinion, she is the weakest of the 4 hunters. So I haven't really done anything to her kit here in a long time. But I will say, definitely, the tip for her is to spec into Last Chance. I'm surprised at how high of level people are that still don't know this. But if you have Last Chance on, to where the last bullet of the gun deals increased damage, and then you pop her ability when there's only 1 bullet left, it gives you that 20% for every single shot, including the pistol. So let your pistol that you start with, let your pistol go down to 1 bullet, pop your ability, and then every single bullet is doing that 20% extra damage. All right, for support, we're starting with Ash, and we've got, for his basic tip for the beginners is going to be to just find a fast melee weapon. His healing that he does right here for alternative healing, successful heavy melee attacks partially restore health for you and your teammates. This used to be 40, they brought it down to 25. It was a pretty significant buff. It might have been 35. I can't remember if it was 35 or 40, but either way, they buffed it. It's noticeable, but it's still nice. It's still a good ability. But what you really don't want to do is, I see a lot of support Ash players do this, where they just find a lumberjack axe and they're like, ooh, a bunch of damage. They find a shovel, they find a sledgehammer, You really for him want a fast melee weapon like the hunting knife or the meat hammer, something that's just really quick. Even the spear is actually a fast weapon. You attack with it pretty quickly, and the nice arc makes it to where you can hit multiple enemies at once. It's really nice. I don't think that gives you more healing, but either way, it's still just a nice thing to have. So that's definitely my basic tip for him. Use a fast melee weapon. My advanced tip for him is going to be a doozy, because I think people are just now starting to figure this out, is that his level 25 ability, where you headshot something, and then a follow-up hit. It says follow-up shot, but really it's a follow-up hit because it's either melee or ranged. The follow-up hit from a teammate will restore a percentage of damage back to them as health. If you use a shotgun with him and you get a headshot with it, it automatically heals you. Yes, you heard that right. Because of the pellets of the shotgun, it will count as headshotting something and then immediately healing you at the same time. So if you just spam headshots with a shotgun, you will just heal yourself indefinitely. Now this is good and bad, because now it means that you're not giving any of your teammates healing with this ability. But if you're solo queuing and you don't care about your teammates for whatever reason you're playing support, then feel free to pick up a shotgun and just spam headshots, and you will heal yourself, and it works really nice. I'm not sure if it's a bug or not. It might get fixed in the future, but as of right now, that's how it works. All right, on to Cheryl. In my opinion, the best of the three supports. So Cheryl's ultimate, just please just start. Please, everyone should be doing this. When you've got her ability ready and you've finished an objective, put the assuming everyone isn't at full health, put her ability down on the crate that spawns when you complete an objective. That's my advanced tip for Cheryl, because a ton of people have the ability. You finish the objective, a couple people loot from the box, they get their pink F, and then you start heading to the next one, and then I hear someone on the microphone saying, "Hey guys, gather around, I've got my healing ready." I'm like, you should have put it down 10 seconds ago when we were all in the same spot. You really, I guess the advanced tip for Cheryl in general would just be, when you've got everyone together, use her ability. It did get a pretty darn significant nerf, not only in the healing, but the cooldown. So it doesn't heal as much, and it takes a lot longer to use her ability. But whenever you get both objectives, so those are two different times where your ability will be ready and everyone is together. And if you happen to fight the demon before the objectives and you're still getting the map pieces, if you ever go and find a crate and maybe it's purple and you ping it, chances are everyone is going to come over to that crate. As long as it's not out of the way of the objective, people are going to go for a purple crate almost every time, no matter how far away it is, or even a golden crate pretty much no matter how far away it is. So use crates almost as a homing beacon for when to use your ability. And last but not least, Pablo. My tip for him is actually just to, this could be a basic, this could be an advanced. I would say it's a basic, but I'm still seeing people not doing it, so I'm going to put it as an advanced tip. So take it as you will. Basic/advanced is that don't use shields, don't use amulets unless you already have a full bar. At level 25, he gets the ability to automatically regen his very first shield bar when you don't have any shield. So when you come back from a fight and you've lost all of your shield and you have 6 shields, wait until at least you've got that first one before using another one. I'm seeing a lot of people either lose all their shields and then pop it again because they just panic, or the very beginning of the match starts and they start with an amulet, so they automatically use it, not knowing that they've already forgotten that he just gets one right off the bat. That's my tip for Pablo. Also, I guess I'll throw in actually a bonus basic tip in here for the beginners that don't know. Pablo, because of his camouflage ability, yes, you can get in a car. The demon does not get alerted, but they still can see the car on the map. Yes, you can fire your gun, and it does not alert the demon. You can fire it all day long, which is why I love playing as a ranged Pablo. I like putting points into ranged things because he can, unlike everyone else in the entire game, you can pick up a gun and then start killing deadites whenever you get near a map piece, which is typically where they are spawning, or just anywhere on the map before the demon finds your group. And it makes it so much easier to kill things, because as a support, you're already doing 20% less damage with melee, and I don't have him really spec'd into melee. I don't really like having my supports do melee, other than maybe like support Ash, which really is counterintuitive because you don't want him to do a lot of damage. You want him to do the least amount of damage and get the most hits. But for Pablo, I love having range because you can use it whenever you want and it does not tell the demon where you are. So that's pretty much going to do it for my advanced and basic tips on all the survivors. Let me know what you guys thought down below. Please like, please subscribe, do all that jazz, and I will see you guys in the future. I do stream every once in a while on Twitch, I would say a couple times a week. So please follow me down there. Link is in description, and I will see you guys in the next one.